We look forward to the opportunity when we'll be able to welcome you to our actual Shabbos table. This is definitely nice as an opportunity for us to see you and to be together and to share community and to schmooze and talk and to learn about each other. Tonight's program is a special program, which we're going to talk about in a moment, but it does not replace what is our bread and butter, what is our most important part of just community building and community sharing, which is being able to share Shabbos and Yom Tov meals together. So again, we are nonstop, continuously yearning for when we're going to be able to do that live and together. Hashem haba aleinu l'tova. Before we actually get started, tonight's program around our Shabbos table has been generously sponsored anonymously in the merit for the Refuah Shalema of Yosef Chaim ben Devorah Leah. Yosef Chaim ben Devorah Leah. He should have a Refuah Shalema. Thank you to our anonymous sponsor. It should be a merit for a Refuah Shalema, the speedy recovery, and a merit for the entire mishpacha, for the entire family. Okay, new and improved, updated, new edition of Around Our Shabbos Table. So after giving some thought, Jen and I were thinking that one of the best ways for us to be able to have in this virtual Around Our Shabbos Table is have an opportunity for us to get to know each other. We have new friends and new neighbors, families that have joined our Boca Jewish Center, not community, but our family. And the BJC family continues to grow by leaps and bounds, and everybody has a story where they're from and the extraordinary accomplishments and what makes you special, what makes you tick. So what we're going to do each week is going to highlight and welcome around our Shabbos table a new family. It doesn't have to be one of the new families moved in, but tonight we are, of course, starting with the Rosenthals. But we're going to also get to know some of the families who have been the anchor beginning families from the beginning throughout, giving us really an opportunity to really get to know each other in the hopes that when we're able to safely really get to be able to spend that time together, you'll have say, hey, I heard your story around the Shabbos table and I got a chance to meet you in that way. So it's a really super opportunity for us to do that. What I'm going to just kind of ask everyone to do, I know everybody's muted now. Thank you, Matthew, for all your coordination and back-end efforts. For anybody who, through the course of this broadcast, of this conversation, who feels they want to ask a question and they want to know about some of the things that are being shared, I'm going to ask you, if you can, to just private message me. You can send me a WhatsApp, or you can WhatsApp Matthew, and he'll send me that message, and we'll be able to then share those questions in that way, not to overwhelm and clog the system, overwhelm the Rosenthals, and the opportunity for us to get to know them is super special. Jen, this is my host, and I'm the co-host of tonight's evening. And I guess what we'll do is we'll get started by sharing just first and foremost a Dvar Torah. You know, when you sit at a Shabbos table, you sit at a Yom Tov table, the Mishnah in Perkei Avos says, Shlosha she'achlu al shulchan echad, three who sit at a Shabbos table, or any table for that matter, v'amru lav divrei Torah, and they speak words of Torah. It's ki'ilu achalnu mishulchano shel makom. It's as if we've eaten at the table of the omnipresent, as if we've eaten at the table with God's presence with us. We don't want to ever be without that. So the beginning of our double parsha, we have this coming Shabbos, Parshas Vayakel, Pekudei, Chazak, Chazak, V'nis Chazek, the end of Sefer Shemos, and of course we know it's also Parshas Chodesh, the fourth and final of the very special Parshiot that we read. It's going to be Rosh Chodesh Nisan on Sunday, the month of Geula, the month of redemption, the month that was from Geulas Mitzrayim, and as the Talmud the Gemara teaches, that the Geula Shalema, the ultimate salvation, redemption, is going to take place in the month of Nisan as well. So it's a time of miracle, it's a time of redemption, it's a time of renewal. It's Chodesh HaAviv, the time of the springtime of our Jewish revival. So we know that the very beginning of Parshas Vayakel, the Mishkan, the building of the tabernacle, and Moshe Rabbeinu, he's calling his constituents, the members of the Jewish people, they should come and they should build and they should participate. But here's what's fascinating. What's fascinating is that it's not like he took, the most skilled artisans, those who have had lots of experience, those people who knew the difference between a hammer and a screwdriver. What he did is, the Torah tells us that he called those in Nasa'o Libo. Nasa'o Libo means those who had, as the Ramban tells us, an elevated spirit, a motivated heart. And what we understand from the Ramban is a very important, very significant lesson. And that is that more important than any training, more important than any background, more important than anything else, above all else, is having the Nasa'o Libo, which is to have a motivated, kindred heart, a spirit that is inspired, that is emotionally connected to and intellectually, really gravitated towards the Torah, the mitzvos, and ultimately the building of the Mishkan. The Mishkan was an edifice, was a building, was the place that the Jewish people were able to rendezvous, closeness, hashras, hashchina to God, but it was also a representative of mikdash or Mishkan, temple, tabernacle from Besocham. Commentary is right that when it means that God will dwell in our midst, it means that he will dwell in our own personal, singular, communal midst, that he is hoping that we ourselves will build our own Mishkan, build our own tabernacle, build our own mikdash, build our own sanctuary. And in so doing, we have the opportunity to appreciate that this isn't just a story of yesteryear, a pure piece of history from antiquity, but rather is an opportunity for us to understand that this is very relevant and pertinent and applicable, applying to every aspect of our lives. Tafshin Pe'al 5781 in this time and in these days as well. So we should be zocha, we should merit to be able to be a naso libo, and to be able to be motivated and to be inspired and to be able to be uplifted, which brings us to tonight's very special program. As mentioned at the beginning, the opportunity that we have to get to know our new families, get to know each other. So
what we usually do at our Shabbos table, which some of you don't know yet, is we always go around the table and we introduce ourselves. We tell everyone our name and where we were born, and then we always ask a question. But tonight, if we can start with Shacharit and Justin, share with us just a little bit of background, where you're from. And our question is something that I read in the article, so I'm going to save it for later. But
so Matthew, if you could, without further ado, we are going to welcome, if you can, split screen us. It is an honor to welcome of the newer members of the Boca Jewish Center community and BJC family. It's my pleasure, it's my privilege to welcome Justin and Shacharit Rosenthal.
Thank you. Thank you.
Us, Matthew?
Great. Can everybody hear us?
We can hear you loud and clear. All right, let's start tonight by first getting to know the two of you. Tell us, where are you both from? Originally, what brought you to Boca Raton and what brought you to the Boca Jewish Center?
We're both saying, oh, you go ahead. So it's such an honor and a privilege and a joy and a merit to be before such an esteemed group. What a great honor. We love the Gibbers, getting to know them close up as neighbors and friends and from afar. When we were looking for a community, any place in the world, we threw a dart on the wall, and a friend of ours said, I think you should go to Boca Raton, and I think there's a place there called Boca Jewish Center you would love. And this person was right. We're both from California. I'm from Northern California, and Justin's from Southern California. And we basically wanted to get as far away from California as we could. So, in a very holy place, short of making Aliyah, which we hope will be our next move, God willing, in the future.
Amen.
So how does it work? You have a Northern Californian and a Southern Californian. So how did the two of you meet? You must have met. Is there like something?
How north and how south?
Yeah. Is there like a middle? We have a Southern California, and we're living in South Florida. How does is there a middle California that you can meet in the middle somewhere? How does that work?
You can. But how we met, I moved up from Southern California to the Bay Area, it's San Francisco Bay Area. And in the course of a job that I had working for actually the Jewish Community Center, one of them located in Berkeley, I met Shacharit briefly, and I invited her. I had started a group called the Bay Area Jewish Vegetarians. I was looking to find people who were vegetarian, which is really easy to find in the Bay Area, but to find them Jewish, I thought, well, let's give it a shot. Sure enough, we had enough people to put on a Seder, and Shacharit was there, and as I was describing the Paschal yam, we had a chance to talk, and the rest is history. I think an interesting note is when I decided to extend my hand in marriage to Shacharit, we went to Disneyland and in Los Angeles, and I was thinking, gee, this would be a great place to propose. Which ride? And they had, the Pirates of the Caribbean. I thought, probably not appropriate. Haunted Mansion, I really like it, but probably won't go well. And I looked up and I saw the Matterhorn, which they don't have here in Florida, but just imagine a roller coaster ride going through this really cool mountain. So as we're going on the ride, Shacharit was seated in front of me. I was in the back. And as the ride started to go up, I said, "Will you marry me?" No answer whatsoever. And I thought, well, maybe because the chain that's pulling the little toboggan up the mountain was too loud and she couldn't hear me. So I said again, "Will you marry me?" Nothing, no response at all. I was like, this is not going well. So at just the moment, as we're about to get to the top of the ride, I said, "Will you marry me?" And as we're starting to go down, she screams, "Yes."
Oh, that's awesome.
So of course, the first thing I had to ask her when we got off the ride, I said, "Why did you not respond to me after the first and second time?" And she looked at me and she said, "I need to let you know, I'm deathly afraid of roller coasters," and I couldn't get the words out.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Wow. And how many kids do you have? Tell me their names, their ages, where they are. We got a chance to meet them. I know you are our neighbors. We're so lucky you live in our Estancia South, which we're so thankful and so blessed. The elevation of holiness was very high. Tell us about your beautiful children, where they're all at.
Thank God we have 4 kids, 3 boys and a girl. Our oldest, Daniel, I think he's 23. He's in med school at SUNY downstate. He graduated from Berkeley, and he doesn't get to see the day of light much these days, but he's very happy. He's a professional magician. So he's always grew up, Justin works in hospitals as a hospital administrator, and so he always grew up doing volunteer work in the hospitals. And then we have twin boys who are 21, who are at Yeshiva University, Ari and Ellie. And one went to Gush and one went to Aish. And they're studying business and pre-med, if anyone knows a job for them for the summer. And then our daughter is 19, and she's Mariah. She's in Israel this year at seminary at Midrashet Tehillah. And so we had 4 kids in 4.5 years with a set of twins. So it's a bit of a blur, but
wow.
We're so blessed and have enjoyed the ride.
Amazing.
And we have to add our newest addition to the family. We have a dog. His name is Bo.
Might I add, he's not like a small little pup.
Yeah.
He takes us for walks.
Yeah.
He calls him like a Kanai Hara. That is like that's like a big one. Linda knows how much
like a bear, right?
Yeah.
Reminds me a little bit of a bear.
Yeah, he's from Chernobyl, Russia, so that may be a connection there. We don't know. So
You and I were at a Shiva house this evening, and the dogs, that's not who let the dogs out. Like, oh my God, they came at me like, I don't know, was it 300 miles an hour? and they were jumped.
Linda, there were more than 2.
No. Linda, let's put it this way. It took me a while to get my heart out of my toes up back to its location. It was some experience. So tell us, you're from California, Northern California, Southern California, beautiful family. Do you have family still in California? Now you're setting and planting roots here. This is your new home. You're our neighbors. We're so excited about that. I see, Riva's here as well, neighbors of all of us here, the whole community's family still in California. And what's the plan to bring them here? Because that's the major.
Well, you bought the house next door to you, so we're just waiting for the real estate to thin out.
Who's there? Who do you have in California? Who's still there?
So I have my parents who are there in Santa Rosa. And, I also have a sister who lives there in Shacharit. Yeah.
I have a sister there who I talk to every day, so it feels like she's here already. But God willing, bit by bit.
That's awesome.
So what made you want to leave California and go so far?
Well, I guess we can, our fame to glory, which is not famous nor glorious at all. So we were living in Santa Rosa, California, which is in the wine country north of San Francisco. And
Napa, is that in the Napa area?
next to Napa. So it is next to Napa. So it's a beautiful area, rolling hills, wineries everywhere. And we were there for many years. And one night, October 8th, 2019, 17, sorry, 17, time flies, 2017, it was Sukkot, and we were in our sukkah, and as a family, we're talking about, that what does the sukkah represent, and this temporary dwelling, and that, don't get comfortable in your life, et cetera, et cetera. It was a very windy evening, and the gusts of wind got very strong. So it was around 11:30, we decided to get into the house. And as we're getting ready to get to bed, get the kids to bed, the power went out. And it was around midnight. We figured, oh, it's just the wind, no big deal. It'll be back, hopefully back on by the morning. And at 3:30 in the morning, the one and only fire truck was driving by our community, shouting on the bullhorn, get out, fire. Nobody heard it. We were all sound asleep, 3:30 in the morning, pitch black. Who did hear it, though, was our son Elias, who quickly got everybody and screamed and said, there's a fire. And as you pop up out of bed, you look out at the window and you see nothing but orange. It was like, oh my goodness. So we gathered the kids, and we're talking seconds, woke everybody up, and we decided to get in the car and drive away and get out of the situation. So we made our way down a flight of stairs into the garage where the car was in the dark. We were feeling for that little cable that is attached to your garage. That's the emergency release cable. And thanks to Hashem, we found it. We were able to pull it. We put our hands to the back of the garage door, and we felt the heat. So we knew that we needed to make a run for it right then and there. So with our strength, we were able to pull up this garage door, which would be normally for 2 cars, very heavy. We open it up, lift it up, and you see nothing but flames everywhere. So we got into the car and then realized we can't get out, because at the end of our long driveway was a security gate, an electric security gate that was a crash-proof gate that nobody could drive through. So the previous owner had communicated to us that in one of the drawers, there is a key that you can use to manually open the gate. Shacharit ran into the house, and again, by the grace of Hashem, was able to find the key. She made the mad dash up, released the gate, and we got all the kids in the car, drove through flames. And then the next step was, we were driving, navigating, it's pitch black, smoke everywhere, trees that were on fire falling down. Didn't think we were going to make it. We said the Shema in the car. We made it through. The next goal was to get to the retirement community where my parents live. So we had a cell phone. Shacharit was calling them, and no answer. Finally, as we're driving, they picked up the phone and said, hello. And what happened is we had woken them up. Their community, there was no alarm. There was no alert saying to evacuate. They were sound asleep. In the same situation, the power's out. So we told them to make their way downstairs. We would come and get them. So they made their way down. Remind you, my dad is about to turn 98. My mom was in 90s. And so going down flights of stairs, because you don't take the elevator when there's a fire, we're driving up to their community. The first set of buildings were already engulfed in flames. And we tried to get to them and the issue of the flames, and was just not possible. So we had to turn around and get out of there as the fire was encroaching everywhere. Just a side note, so they were fine in the end. The fire department came with a bus and got the residents out. What did happen, though, was that the staff working there abandoned all of the residents. They didn't even bother to sound the alarm. So, frightening story. So we can, again, navigated our way through the rolling hills that were on fire to get out, made our way to the highway, and just headed south, and made it before dawn to my sister's home in Berkeley, California. And there we were able to catch our breath, if you will. And the first thing the kids wanted to do was saying, "Dad, it's sunrise. We want to get to a sukkah. We want to shake the estrog and lulav." And just to speed up the process here, we were fortunate that the synagogue in Oakland, a modern Orthodox synagogue, Beth Jacob, the community opened up their doors, gave us clothing, gave us food. We were couch surfing, basically homeless for 2 months until the insurance company was able to give us, or willing to give us, I should say, money so that we would be able to find a place to rent while we try to settle with the insurance company.
Wow, what an unbelievable story. It's an unbelievable story. I know that it was a feature story at .com. Obviously, to hear you tell it is not only harrowing, but beyond unbelievably inspiring. So first of all, there's so many thoughts, that questions I'm sure that you've dealt with and answered and struggled with. And so first of all, bless you, how old was Elias? How old was Ellie? Like how? And he just like woke up by the sound of the bullhorns of that? I mean, tell us about your neighbors. Tell us about like what was going through everybody's minds. I mean, you're talking about reaching for heavy garage door, trying to find a key, the panic and hysteria of trying to like really like what's going through your minds. You said the Shema. Were the kids hysterical? Were you keeping, you both are strikingly calm and composed individuals. Like how did those moments go? So we'll start with how old he was and what happened with your neighbors, and tell us about your calm.
Ellie and Ari were seniors in high school, so I think they were 18 or 19, and Mariah was 16 or 17. And we literally had like 1 minute to get out of our house, and so there was really no time to panic. And Ari grabbed, we basically said, get in the car now, we have to go now. And we opened the garage, the door between the house and the garage, and the house started filling up with smoke. So we knew we needed to get out. So Ari grabbed his tefillin and talis, and Mariah grabbed her Mashiach bag. She spends every summer at Camp Stone, and they told the kids that summer before, let's do an exercise where you all pack a Mashiach bag and think about when you get home, pack a Mashiach bag so that when Mashiach comes, you're ready to go, and put in it everything that's the most important thing in your world to you. So she thought about it, and pretty much all that we have, other than the clothes on our backs, are what she put in her Mashiach bag, which meant so much to her: a mezuzah, and her Tehillim book, and a Siddur, and like one of our wedding pictures, and I think a picture of her grandparents, I think. So we knew that we knew we were being tested in that moment to stay calm and get out. And we didn't really have a choice. So, and I, you know, as a parent, you play act, right? Because you don't want your kids to panic. So we stayed calm and we stayed focused. And I know when I was in the house looking for the key, I couldn't find it. It felt like forever and ever. And you know that feeling of like your heart sinking in your body. And I was like, if I don't find this key, you know, we're gonna die here in place. And then I was just saying, Hashem, help me, Hashem, help me. And I of course had just what do you call, reorganized my drawers, and I put the key somewhere else. And I said, thank you, Hashem. And I got it and ran up, and there was like embers falling down on us, and the smoke was so bad we could barely breathe. And we just you just focus, because you don't have time and you don't have the luxury to even panic or you know, worry or this or that. You just focus, and that's why it's so important to drill these things, which we never did. But we were prepared for an earthquake, but we were not prepared for a wildfire. And you said, how did we get to Boca? And you know, we just realized that we all could have not survived that night. I mean, the odds were against us. We were sound asleep. We got no warning. So as soon as we were out and realized we were alive, we realized we've been given a gift to really live our lives and have it be so meaningful. And from that moment on, we're just like looking, besides Eretz Yisrael, looking for the most holy place on earth to come and the most holy street to come on earth. And so we're just trying to get in as much mitzvahs and joy and learning and Torah in our lives, because we know how important it is and what a gift it is.
So I'm curious,
Wow.
I don't know the area so well of Santa Rosa, but I can imagine that it's like door-to-door sukkahs in the backyard. But correct me if I'm wrong. Is it?
I jokingly say we were 9 shy of a minion. But we were, there is a Chabad, there is a conservative synagogue and a Reform synagogue. As we were in our growth, we were at Chabad, and our presence was strong, because without our kids and us there, they struggled to get a minyan. But for us, though, it was an opportunity for the kids to really learn the prayers and to be comfortable davening and then leading Shacharit and Musaf services. So it was a growth opportunity that we took advantage of.
Were the California wildfires predicted? Did they know? Were they forecasting them? Was this just like, you know, you read it in the news as a, you know, East Coast, you know, community, and you're reading the news, something that happens on the West Coast, and obviously we're all connected in very intricate and in a real-time way. But tell us, you know, is there a forecast that was unexpected? It seemed like it was going on and on. You went that night, it was clear, and the next minute before you knew it, you were engulfed in flames. Is that how it went?
Yes, exactly. Where we lived, you know, California is known to have fires. At the time of the fire, California, I think, was in the 5th year of a severe drought. And the politicians in California believe in letting nature be. So rather than removing undergrowth of dead brush and trees, leave things as they are. This fire was due to power lines that came down in the wind, and the power lines ignited the dry brush, and that set the stage with high winds. The winds, I think, were at 60 miles an hour, and we're in a hilly area, and the flames just traveled up the hill and consumed anything in its path. There was no warning. In the end, just, I think, 5,600 homes and structures were destroyed. and something like 146 kilometers of land was destroyed. The fire, by the way, wasn't just for one night. It continued to burn all the way through the month of October. It was the second worst wildfire in California history.
Yeah, so our neighborhood was flattened like a a bomb hit it, or like you see pictures of Hiroshima, and most of the people got out because their neighbors came and knocked on their doors and told them. We didn't hear anything till 3:30, but I later found out at about 1:30 or so that neighbors were knocking on doors. Maybe they couldn't get to us because of our gate. I don't know, but
you finally got back to your house, flattened Hiroshima. Like, is that a picture? Imagine.
There's another picture of just the door frame was left.
Yes, right.
Put up a picture of the article, H.com. Was that your house?
Yes, what you see is what we went through.
That's what you went through.
Right.
And,
He's gonna get that.
When you went back, like obviously there was a certain sense of you had to be safe to go back, certainly if it was burning. How much time were you away? How much, you ran in the middle of the night. You couldn't even grab so much as like a toothbrush, clothing for the next day. I mean, nothing. So like, you're out for, wow.
That was what remains.
So that's what remains. Wow. So you're out and you're gone. How much time from the time you evacuated, spent time with your sister, got your bearings, caught your breath, but you went back, and did you have an idea of what you're going back to? Or was that, it's almost like reliving that devastation and then seeing it in real time? How much time was there, and what was that like?
I don't remember. I don't remember the time frame. I know the fire was burning for 3 weeks, and then they didn't. And then the National Guard came and was guarding the area because, of course, there's looters. And so I think it was a month, and we knew that our property and neighborhood was gone because we were following the news, and they would show aerial photos like this of our neighborhood. But going there and seeing where you raised your children, and we would sponsor the Chabad, fundraising dinner every year, and have learning around the table, and Shabbos dinners, and so nobody can take those memories away. And we don't have photos, and we don't have, we have some things on the cloud. Please make sure you put all your valuable papers on the cloud. But I always thought, oh, one day I'll do that, because so this is a picture of what was inside Mariah's Mashiach bag that she had made at camp that summer. And
Unbelievable.
So, but coming back, we did find our etrog was just sitting there, bright yellow in this burned out, fireplace, and we just couldn't get over it, that a Jewish object that represents what is really important in our lives, and that it's going to make us strong, and we're going to take that from the fire and just move forward with it and just keep building on it from then on.
When I read that, immediately I texted, Justin, how special and extraordinary that is. I was reminded of a story that Rabbi Pesach Krohn tells about, on a trip that he took back to Eastern Europe, to one of the synagogues, after the inferno of the Holocaust, and going into one of these synagogues, which after Kristallnacht, obviously with the window panes were all smashed and the inside was devastated, but they came on Sukkot as well. I was actually thinking about it when I was reading about the etrog that was found. And he said he went in there, and I guess they had barricaded it now since they had since been in that synagogue. But what it was is that they found that the Nazis came in on Cholam Hamoed Sukkot, actually, and they were shaking their lulavim and esrogim. They had their hadassim and aravos, and the page of the siddur was open to Hallel. They were saying the Hallel, and they had the esrog and the lovim. They're literally, guys, like this put down there. And he said he just couldn't contain himself when he saw it was left there as it was. And it was the symbol of hope. It was a symbol of, Am Yisrael Chai, of Jewish continuity. There was like no more powerful, salient message of our survival, despite the inferno and the burn of that time. And in your case, of your home, then the symbol of a Jewish article like that, the esrog, which is symbolic of, it has a scent and it has a taste. According to the commentaries, it has a reach and a tam, and that's symbolic of the chacham, the wise, who we wish to aspire to be like. What a very, visceral reminder of that. So I'm sure Sukkot has extraordinary meaning for you, and an etrog has an extraordinary meaning for you because of how much, finding that meant, and that symbolism. That aerial photo that Matthew just shared, you almost can't truly discern what was there beforehand. It's like you have to really, hone in a little bit. It's hard for me to ask you this question, but I know that lives were lost. Were there friends of yours or family members in your community who perished, who lost their lives, who, struggled to recover? Anything about
so we lost a neighbor who died. Over 22 people died in the community from the fire. Unfortunately, many of the deaths occurred in the garage. People didn't have the strength to lift up their garage door. And so unfortunately, they perished inside their homes. But the residual fact of the impact of the fire, to this day, when we talk to people, still, there's going to always be a mental scar. When we light the Shabbat candle, we make sure it's in the, it's safe and it's not going to fall over. We talk to friends who, how the fire devastated their lives. You've got a case where one of the most horrific stories is a woman whose husband was in hospice at home, and she had to cancel the homeowner's insurance just before the fire to be able to pay for his hospice. Fire comes, they escape, but she was destitute. She lost everything financially from that fire. People left the area. The public school system also started to spiral, and the whole city started to spiral. In fact, it was one article that described Santa Rosa as the next Detroit, because once you lose that number of homes, you're losing all the city tax revenue base. You don't have the city tax revenue base. You have to lay off police, fire. The schools start to suffer because they're losing their financial support. And that year, for the first time basically ever, the public schools were saying, we're now dealing with drug issues because of the stress. Parents were taking Valium and other stress reduction pills that the kids would find in the medicine cabinet and would come to school high. And all of a sudden, the school has to get do interventions to address this issue. So, and it was a nice, upper middle class community, gone in the blink of an eye. You've lost that tax base, that financial base.
What's there now? Like, what did anybody rebuild their homes? Did Chabad, lose its building? Did the rabbi in the community find a way to kind of rebuild after all that, or was it just truly just devastation and that it was just utter sheer loss?
Right. So the fire hopscotched around a little bit. So where Chabad was located, and at that time it was a storefront, was unscathed. The rabbi did take the Torah and flee the area to protect the Torah. What you see now, yes, there is rebuilding happening, but many of the homes are not as large as they used to be. The insurance companies were offering people $200 a square foot to rebuild. You talk to contractors, they're saying, are you kidding me? It's $500 to $600 a square foot with all the regulations in California, building on a hillside. And so it forced many people who chose to rebuild, who had the wherewithal to rebuild. It's been a long, arduous process because for many of the areas up until this very moment, there is no electricity, there is no sewer set up, there's no water. Our lot of land, because of the intense heat, now keep this in mind, the sewer systems are 3 feet underground. They melted from the intensity of the heat. And so you've got the infrastructure gone. And so with that, these plastic pipes and wiring released benzene and arsenic into the soil. So it classed many of the area as hazardous toxic dump sites. And so the Federal Emergency Management folks, FEMA, came, and I can give you a really great story, but FEMA was offering to come and remove debris. And we found somebody through the synagogue who was a contractor, said, let me take care of it because FEMA's going to be charging you a ton of money. I can do it for at least half and I'll take care of you. So we wrote to FEMA and said, do not come onto our property. We'll take care of it. Turns out I was up in that area visiting my folks, and I remember going, it was actually my birthday, and I said, well, let me go check on the lot. And I go to my lot to look at it, and there's all these construction trucks there removing all of our debris. And they removed the retaining wall that was holding up a hillside. And I was like in total shock. And I waved everybody down and said, who is in charge here? And they pointed to a guy on the hill, and they waved him down the hill. And he came over, and the best that I can paint this picture for you, I said, hi, who are you? He goes, hi, my name is Bailey. I was like, oh God. Billy, hi, you guys were instructed not to remove any of the debris here. And all of a sudden there's like these huge boulders on our property. We don't know where they came from. And I said, you were not permitted to do what you did. You tore up everything. And then you leave me here some big rocks. And I said, Billy, where are you from? And he goes, I'm from Arkansas. And I thought, okay, let me make this clear. I said, well, there's some big rocks there. Are you from where in Arkansas? And I'm waiting for him to say, Little Rock. And he goes, from the middle. And so it was a struggle for us to deal with FEMA, first telling them not to come onto our property. In the end, we came into agreement with them, and they were able to remove our toxic soil from us. So we're one of the lucky ones in which our land is no longer a toxic dump site, but it's sitting fallow. And
we just settled with our insurance company after 3 years, and we're able to buy a house.
Oh,
that's unbelievable.
My goodness.
Matthew, what's that picture? That's a before and after. Is that in the Santa Rosa area?
that's
Yeah.
it.
That's familiar to you. Wow.
Yeah.
Before and after
So
that.
we tried calling, the kids were trying to call their friends and neighbors and like, wake up, get out. And
It's devastating. The world that we live in is so materialistic. I don't think it goes without saying how much we're aware of that. Your story and the response and your tenacity and your fortitude and foresight, it's extraordinary. I'm so taken by the Camp Stone, invitation of a Mashiach bag. And I've spoken about that in drushas and given just lessons about that. And, it's an amazing testament to just not only hearing the lesson, but then actually living that. And I'm sure you have had, and just after reading the article and hearing your story, from your mouths directly, it really gives us pause to think about the concept of things versus the things that are most important in life. And that Mashiach bag is really symbolic of like, what really are those most important things? I don't know. I've been thinking about that for myself. And, Jen and I have been discussing it a little bit, like, what would you put in your bags, right? That is like,
We always, around Pesach time, our question, Linda can vouch for this. One question we ask a lot is like, if you're leaving Mitzrayim, what would you take with you? What's the one you could take one thing with you. So it's definitely something we try to think about.
It's amazing. So
you lived it.
You lived it. Wow. What an inspiration. Does she still have her Mashiach bag? I assume she does. I assume she does. And I don't know about you, but we should all have a Mashiach bag. It's amazing. My daughter, I shared this short story with an Orthodox Union speakers group that Chana in her dormitory when she was in seminary last year. So she had a roommate who, you think about the girls' seminary and the boys' yeshivas for that matter, they're not like these very spacious quarters. It's like very cramped in quarters. And, they're all sharing and they're double sharing in these closets. And there was one of the girls who had a dress, what it was, that was in, one of these garment bags.
Like a dry cleaning bag.
Like a dry cleaning bag. And, the girls, they like to share clothing and, they look in each other's closets and they realized they were like always wondering, like, what's this garment that's behind this dry cleaning bag that they were never allowed to use. And lo and behold, they found out that the family also was like, very, very steadfast and robustly focused on, there's going to be a day, it's Mashiach's time, and we're going to have to run out. And the holiday of our freedom of Pesach, of Passover, is B'chipason Yatzam Mitzrayim, which means we ran out in haste. And this girl was taught that especially when you go to Eretz Yisrael, there's a dress, it's pressed, it should be in a garment bag, it's not something you share, it's what you wear, and it's when you're ready to go, when Mashiach comes, you got to have a nice garment to have. And she was so taken by that. I was so taken by that. And that Mashiach bag and that fortitude and that insight, it gives really pause. Like, things are just things. They're just things. And the most valuable things in life are the things that you just carry. They're super, super small. Those heirlooms, I think it was a sitter, it was a tehillim, it was pictures, your wedding album, your wedding pictures rather, grandparents. It's unbelievable. It's really, truly unbelievable. So obviously your lives have changed. We are the beneficiaries of your move here to South Florida and to our block and to be part of our community. Just give us before, I guess I'll invite everybody, if you have questions, we're going to head towards we're at the 9 o'clock hour in just a few moments, as fast as it seems. If you have any questions if you could just private message me and I'm happy to share them. But one final question, as you guys are, anybody else who might be interested to do that, give us like one takeaway. Surely now you live your lives inspired, dedicated to Hashem, learning Torah, vigilant. Children are Torah-loving children. It's extraordinary. You're a beautiful family in every way, shape, or form. Give us one takeaway message, something, how to live our lives more meaningfully. What should we think about learning from your incredible story? How to live more enriched, more inspired, more uplifted, focused lives.
I think for me, is not to take things for granted, for one. And for me, I hate to use this analogy, or this statement, but it kind of the fire forged my faith in Hashem. And so when I daven and I do the Shemona Esrei, I'm not rushing through the words, but I'm reading them and understand, because, for us, like we say, the Torah is God's way of us, for him to speak to us, and our prayers are our way to speak to him. I take that to heart. And I think the message, in a spiritual sense, is don't take things for granted. You've got the sitter, read it, digest it, internalize what those words are, what they mean, and they'll enlighten your life.
For me, it's the importance of family and community and friends, because we gained a lot more than we lost through this experience. Because people gave us their people would just say, what do you need? Do you need something to wear? Do you need something to eat? Do you need a hug? Do you need somebody to talk to? Do you need a community? And if we didn't put ourselves in a vulnerable place to say, yes, we need a friend to cry on, and we need a community, and we need a friend. And for us to teach our kids that those are the important things in life, and the things don't matter.
Wow.
So wild.
I can tell you this much. First of all, I thank you so much for sharing your incredible story. And it's more than just your story. It's how you both and your beautiful family have internalized that story. That last line of just like you gained more than what you lost, it is so powerful. The Mishnah tells us, Ezu hi chacham, halomin mikol adam. Who is a wise person? One who learns from everyone. And you know, along your way, what you learned from people who gave of themselves to you, and what you have just given us, and Jen and I, it's a gift. It's a gift to be able to appreciate, not take for granted, to count your blessings, and to really know what in life matters, what matters most. So this has been an extraordinary conversation, and you know, to know that we were blessed to have you part of our community, knowing nothing when you and I and your children sat in the front lawn, right? Remember we met, and it started to rain. It was you were catching one of your kids were catching a flight, or friends were catching a flight. To think now that there's a reason why there's a shining light and there's a brightness of goodness that emanates from your house on our block, in our community, at the Boca Jewish Center, and in Boca Raton in South Florida. And we feel so privileged and honored that you're part of our community and part of our family. And for everybody who's here, and I know that there are quite a number of people that will listen to this Erev Shabbos. I know that there are people that prepare for Shabbos listening to Around the Shabbos Table. So for those of you who are going to tune into this later, so you've just met two extraordinary new neighbors and new friends. And they give everybody a bracha. We should all have a blessing that we should get to know each other and really build those friendships and build our community, and to welcome each other in our own lives and in our homes. And in doing that, we will continue to be like the strongest that we could possibly be. So I really, personally, communally, Jen and I, we thank you so much for sharing, and for more than anything, just being so super special and inspiring us so very much. It has been a privilege to have you around our virtual Shabbos table, and we cannot wait
To have you on our real Shabbos table
Yeah.
with some nice vegetarian options.
Yes, we are going to have the most unbelievable vegetarian Shabbos table when you come. They are going to be delicacies and
Well, we
choice.
invite everyone to our home as well, and look forward to get to know everybody. I just want to point out, like, the books behind us, every single book was donated to our kids from the different yeshivas they went to, or schools they went to, or camps, or this and that. And we just feel like we're the richest, luckiest people on earth, and that it's our, just to keep paying it forward. So
I was noticing books. I'm like, that was quick to like build a library in such a short amount of time. That's unbelievable. That's unbelievable.
Right.
The Jewish people helped you rebuild your library.
Mika Amchai, who is like the Jewish people.
Right. That is so unbelievable. Well, thank you for sharing yourselves and sharing it with all of us. We are so affected, and I know that I'm going into Shabbos fired up and powered up and inspired so very, very much. You're wonderful. And thank you all so much for being here around our Shabbos table. And we look forward to having many more of these opportunities to get to know new friends, new neighbors. Wishing everybody a wonderful Thursday night, a good Erev Shabbos, and a beautiful Shabbos Kodesh. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Shacharit. Thank you all for being here. Wishing everybody the best, happy, holy, safe, and a beautiful evening for you all. Thank you all.
Everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Much love.